These people are on their way to work. They're reporters, photographers, technicians, and they work at the White House. There are 1,730 people assigned to cover the White House each day. Actually, less than 100 show up for work here each morning. But those who are assigned to cover the White House beat have what is considered to be the most exciting, glamorous job in the world. But is it really?
Well, I suppose glamour, like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder. I wouldn't say it's glamorous. It's a mixture of great excitement and great boredom.
You always feel that you are cattle being herded here and there, and you are. They blow a whistle, you jump. So these are the things that you think, is it worth it all? And then you say yes, but at the same time, it's not exactly. Sometimes you like to be treated like a human being.
Think of the White House, then, as a medieval fortress, a castle surrounded by the most elaborate security ever devised by man. It's a tightly restricted world, and those who work here must labor behind those formidable barriers. This is that familiar scene we all see behind the correspondents each night on the network news. There's a reason it's so familiar. This is the only place they're allowed to stand on the North Lawn. Everywhere else, electronic sensors in the grass will set off flashing lights and buzzers and sirens and send a small army of scowling Secret Service men thumping across the lawn at you. Not a pretty sight. So those restrictions for security reasons make the effort to cover a president difficult at the outset. Add to that a system of news management, and the attempt to get inside presidential thought and action becomes almost impossible. Good morning. The news management starts each day at 7:45 in the morning with a meeting of the senior staff of the administration. It's here that the issues and crises of the day are laid out and digested, and the president's view is imprinted upon each. Then an hour later, the staff of the White House press office gathers to take that view and prepare specific responses to the expected questions of the reporters.
We've hardly had a ripple out of the press about any concerns that anybody had about it, and it's been handled well.
And each day at noon in the newly redecorated briefing room, the word is given to 40 or 50 hungry journalists. Their only hope to gain insight here is to ask the unexpected question on the unexpected subject. All through the day, press releases are handed out, an avalanche of white paper, some of it to be filed neatly away, some of it to be tossed into the nearest trash can. Perhaps the White House reporter's greatest asset is his list of telephone numbers of administration officials. Most of the time, their clearest path around the information barriers is as thin as a telephone line. Under this floor lies, even now, John Kennedy's old indoor swimming pool. There were stories back during the height of the Watergate mess that President Nixon and Ron Ziegler had secret buttons, which, on the occasion of especially embarrassing questions, they would push, and it would slide the floor back and plunk the impertinent reporter into the drink, deep six them, if you will. Then they imagined the floor would quietly roll back into its original position. Back in the old days, the walls weren't quite so high. The press corps could even wander into the Oval Office to chat, or at least share a beer with the likes of Franklin Roosevelt or Harry Truman. But not anymore.
Well, the biggest change is television. I think that the cameras and the immediate access of TV has made the change, and the White House press corps used to be a small little island. You know, everyone would go into the Oval Office for a news conference. Now it's absolutely mammoth.
Some things have stayed the same, though. The race to the scheduled photo opportunity is still as chaotic as ever. And it's usually followed by the seemingly endless wait for access. And, of course, such chaos eventually takes its toll in leaden fatigue or short tempers. Once a month comes the opportunity to talk to the man himself at the formal press conference. And under the Reagan administration, that formality has removed the shouted questions and the jumping jack antics of the press corps. Now, one must quietly raise one's hand when the president stops speaking. But if the president likes to pause dramatically for effect, there can be some embarrassing confusion for the reporter. President Reagan himself is called one of the friendliest chief executives in recent years. And despite the problems with the economy and sometimes with his own staff, such as last week's painful flaps with David Stockman and Richard Allen, President Reagan remains confident that the bunker mentality of other administrations will not afflict his own.
I believe the president's obligation is divided into two parts. One, and that is to be willing to inform the press as fully as you possibly can about those things that are of interest and concern to the people. The second part of that would be to ask the press's understanding and the people's understanding that sometimes there are things, for example, involving national security matters or delicate negotiations with foreign powers in which there are times when you can't respond to questions. And if they just understand that, and then as soon as you can, why...
It's a delicate balance, though.
Yes.
But despite the president's attitude, the formidable restrictions remain. So what keeps these people on this frustrating assignment?
How many journalists work 10 feet from the Oval Office?
It's really a ringside seat to history. That's a cliche, but it's true.
Jackson Bain, Metro Media News.